So what we're going to be doing is creating a GitHub repository on GitHub and cloning it down to your computer. That's what we're doing. So let's do that. Let's jump in github.com/new. This is how you create a GitHub repository. You go to github.com/new. If you're logged in, it's going to list your account here and any other organizations or business accounts that you might have access to. For us, let's just keep it easy. We will do a git practice repo. So see how we're making a folder name, no spaces in the folder name, and in the description I'm going to write, this is my repo for demonstrating practicing Git. Now I want this code to be public, and I want y'all's code to be public unless somebody's paying you to keep it not too public. And let's add a readme and a git ignore here, right? And I'm not too worried about the template. We'll choose a license too. Licenses, this is if you want to do license anybody else to use your stuff. MIT is fine. And then let's see. Cool. So I'm using a git template, Python. It looks like I can use none. If I don't use it, that's cool. All right. So what we're doing right here, by clicking Create Repository, what's going on over on GitHub servers is GitHub just created a folder with a license file, a README file, and a git ignore file, right? And what we can do on our end, now that this is created, we can go to this code area right here, this green code button, and we have a couple of choices. I like getting this clone address underneath SSH. You could also use GitHub Desktop, or you could download a zip of everything. What I do is grab this, copy it to your clipboard, and then over in your terminal, let's say I'm over on my examples folder, the command I'm going to type here is git space clone, and then I will paste that clone address that I copied, the clone address that came from the green code button over here. And now over in this directory, I can change directories into this file called git practice. And you'll see that I have a couple of these files with dots at the beginning. There's a period. That's a hidden file, right? So that's why we use ls a to show hidden files. Shows us the git folder. That's all the internals of git. The git ignore is a list of all the files we want Git to totally ignore. The license would be any open source license or private license, all rights reserved if it's not for the public use, and then a README containing any content. So we can use VS Code and open up that README. I want to show something to y'all. So this is my repo for practicing demonstrating Git. The workflow, step 1, go to https://github.com/new and make a new repo. Select any options for README, license, or git ignore, and then click OK. Go to the green code button on GitHub and copy the git address that looks like this. Looks like, here we go. Now, navigate on your computer to the folder you want to be the parent folder and type git clone and then that address. Inside of this folder. Notice I'm trying to show you and write down the steps and articulate the steps that I just took myself. I went and made a new repo on GitHub. I selected some options for license and git ignore and readme. I copied the clone address, and then on my terminal, in the folder where I wanted this to be a part of, I typed git clone, and then I cloned git practice, and now we can do more work. Well, let me show you what that looks like. On the terminal now, if I were to do git status, give you 3 guesses what this checks. It checks the status of the Git repository. We see that I have changes that I made to this README file. Okay? If you want to know what kind of changes you made, you can type git diff to get the difference. And we see that I've added, you know that it's adding because it's green. Removals would be red. Q to exit that. So we see that I've made some changes. Here's how to get those changes. We're going to git add and then type the file name. And what this does, I'll check the status again. It says that this is the file or the changes that I'm trying to have GitHub track, right? At this stage in the game, I'm ready to put them in the envelope, seal them, because a commit is like is saved game. So I'll say first commit. Usually we want to explain what we're doing, so I could say add steps, GitHub step detail. Okay. So this is associated, the work that I just did, with this message and a point in time. And now, because I set everything up by cloning, check this out, I can do a git push. And since this is the first time I'm doing a push, I will do a -u and set origin main. So the -u, I think we only need to do this once. It sets the upstream. That's what the U is for, is setting the upstream. So now, notice I just typed in VS Code, I typed the text here, but when I go back to the browser and refresh, we see that content from the README is now part of the repository. Okay, so I'm going to walk through this process one more time to add new content, to add, commit, and push new content. Here's what we do. Step 0, edit. You'll either create a new file or edit an existing file. And then what you'll do after that is git status from your command line, git add file name.txt, where file name.txt is the file you created or edited, right? And now we'll do a git status to check to make sure that the file name is now green in your terminal. And then 5, we'll do git commit -m. This is the commit message that explains what I'm adding. Right? And then 6, git push origin. Actually, git push origin main will upload all of your commits. So see how I've added this new content here, these 6 bullet points. It's not automatically syncing, right? Automatic sync is great for like Google Drive or Dropbox or something, but we're talking about source code here, so we want to be deliberate. In our beginning of our workflow, we'll check our status. We see that I've made some changes, right? Okay, git diff for difference shows us what the changes were. I added these 4 lines. So I'll check the status, and I see that I need to add readme.md. And notice as soon as those changes are done, they're now green. So if I go back in and modify that file again, this file will turn red on the next git status. So whatever's green is whatever's being bundled up in the commit. And I'll say add further detail for future commits. And pushes. And at this stage, because I've already done the -u one time, I can say git push. See how this is an upload process. If my Wi-Fi was turned off right now, this upload wouldn't complete, right? And we can prove that this worked. If we go over to the browser and refresh, we have our new content. So to recap what we did was we started making a brand new repo on GitHub. We set the README license or gitignore, whatever we did there, and we clone down the address. It makes a new folder, and then we do whatever work we need to do inside of that folder. We will add, commit, and push.